So let's talk a little about the solution we're going to demo and how it's approached. This is very high level, but we hope to do a more technical webinar on the solution later in the year to go a little more in depth on how things work and what features are available. Before we built anything, we wanted to make sure there were clear lines of responsibility that leverage the headless capabilities of both dotCMS and commercetools in the right way. So ensuring there was no bleed, cross-pollination, or duplication of data in either system was very important. We defined the responsibilities in following ways. So dotCMS was the provider for layout, content, obviously, inline editing, and even though dotCMS isn't a DAM, it does have a very mature API for handling images and media assets in a responsive design. So that's that's an excellent feature. commercetools is obviously acting as a provider for anything to do with commerce data, products, category data, and obviously product search. Between each system, key identifiers were cataloged between each data entity, and they were used to maintain relationships between elements, which also kept integrations lightweight and performant. So looking at the flow of the application, we just want to go through high level how it works and how abstraction and use of the providers from dotCMS and commercetools were put together to enhance and enrich data for the whole customer experience. So to begin with, with any DXP platform, a context of a user is the basis for how you can start to leverage and surface content based on the scenario or what they're doing. So at its most basic, a context could be an IP address, information from the browser, on the device, or whatever, country, language, that kind of stuff. And with those attributes, you can really start to target and drive content and experiences. So we always start with the context. The context is used, and depending on the scenario, whether it's requesting a page or a dynamic feature, is passed into the Experience API. The Experience API is the core piece of abstraction between the providers and the channel. So those are the integration points. The data that's returned and received is driven all the way through that. We have interception or route interceptors is what we call them. And these are business logic that can handle situations between pages, layouts, and can drive dynamic data in one scenario, static data in another, depending on how your business needs to run and the application involved. The interception and flow of that interacts with providers. It could be commerce, it could be dotCMS, it could be a combination. It doesn't really matter. The point is that the business rules dictate how that is, how that's leveraged. The responses are then passed into what we call an enrichment layer. The enrichment really starts to pull together the pieces of data and interact with the providers again to create data contracts or entities on the way out that support the current scenario or what you're trying to do. So this could be targeting, this could be personalization in some way, or simply looking for some dynamic content, right? We've got the framework that kind of sits between our providers and our experience layer that just provides the models and contracts that the solution adheres to. This is providing RESTful APIs, right, which are obviously the key to headless. So we're just extending that headless capability, but never really giving access directly to either provider, right? And off the back of this, the ultimate goal here is to provide multi-channel applications with those data and allow that data to be rendered in different ways, but shared and reused from source. So very important design, and again, we hope to get into this in more depth in a later webinar, but as a top level, that's the kind of flow we aim for. Okay, last slide before we get into the demo. Just want to talk a little bit about the benefits of some of the development aspects of this approach and the true headless technologies in dotCMS and commercetools. So abstraction is something we've talked about quite a bit in different parts of the webinar, but the idea is to separate implementation details, specific details of either technology, the integrations and differences between the technologies, the data they hold. That should be very seamless to your channels and your consumers. the presentation logic, and ultimately what we're trying to provide here is maximizing the development output velocity of your teams, okay? So efficiencies, huge efficiencies in your development life cycles, just due to beyond the framework and the APIs, the reference implementation that's being provided with this solution. We're really only building business logic specific things for either your channel or your particular business, right? So we're looking at data enrichment or route interception or whatever it might be. So you're only building very small pieces on top of a framework that handles everything else. Scaling, so again, very important to be able to scale based on the capacity needs, or again, the channels that you want to start to distribute this data to, and the separation within inside your business or organization. So being able to delegate implementations out to different teams depending on what they're doing, being able to reuse provider implementations through the framework and business logic, enrichers or interceptors, whatever it might be. But again, enhancing that that development life cycle for your teams.